first thing to share of all this idea is that knowledge we are working on, and the idea of knowledge that we share, actually it's built in between people. Knowledge is not about the amount of references or readings or tools you could have, but actually it's about sharing with others, because dialogue is the only way that that allows us to actually permit a fluxus between people, and in that fluxus is where knowledge occurs. Actually, isolated knowledge is not real knowledge, not today at least, because it's impossible to be alone and to think about the future, given the complexity of our future and our problems and our challenges as a society and as a human species. Actually, it's not possible, no matter how prepared you are, to be alone and to try to achieve a wider vision, because we need more than our position to try to understand all our problematics and our challenges. As I said, our problems are global problems, and if we want to solve them somehow or to give some kind of proposal to solve them, it's necessary to have more than one position behind. In that way, the idea of a transdisciplinary and off-centered vision, which actually it's on the base of the spirit of GCAS, it's actually the best way to achieve something I said all the time, which is pierce the walls, all kind of walls that surround us, and also to build bridges, which actually it's the objective of what education should be. And it goes beyond the idea of education as something instrumental. It goes beyond the idea of education as something that answers only to the problematics of oneself. In those terms, and actually as another main idea, core idea for what we try to achieve here, I like this conception that uniqueness is not about oneness. Capitalistic culture, capitalistic education, and modernity itself has pushed the idea that the shifts of the individual are what matters the most. But actually, that idea of uniqueness as something that occurs, kind of isolated, it's, I think, weak in our time, because actually uniqueness, it's about multiplicity. Uniqueness is not about being completely bright alone, but to create a brighter fluxus between two entities, between two people, between two institutions, between two lines of knowledge. I think that's uniqueness, the fluxus itself, not the nodes isolated. And what we try to achieve here, it's precisely that, to create a brighter and unique fluxus between the different nodes of GCAS, more than this develop of uniqueness in each node. So what's the proposal we have? Well, to generate and sustain spaces of dialogue, to consolidate, to promote those fluxes between the nodes. The idea is that all the GCAS nodes around the world could share their impressions. It's interesting because, as for example, in my case, I begin as part of GCAS Latin America. And when we share our impressions, when we planify things, when we get together to talk and to share knowledge, all the time we're thinking that it would be great to have the opportunity to talk with people that is in Sydney or in Uganda or in Jakarta, and to know what would be the impressions of all these people on our problems that probably are their problems too somehow. And to share that different perspective, to share that different tools, that different experiences, sensitivities. Actually, there's the potential of what we can achieve as GCAS. I think it's very important what's happening now. The accreditation and all our processes are great, but I think it could be even stronger and even with more potency if we get to sustain this dialogue between our nodes. So what we are proposing is this Global Transdisciplinary Research Observatory. That's the name we have chosen for this, and that's the main intention to achieve this space for dialogue. You know, it's like the only aim of this instance is to give a space for focus in this interchange between the nodes. So why we have chosen this name? First, global, because of course it will, gather all the nodes GCAS around the world. Second, transdisciplinary, because well, as I've been saying, the idea is to integrate visions, positions, and tools. Not the idea is not to fall into these too specialized discussions, that are important, of course, that are valid and that are academically satisfying. But actually, if you get out of your place of comfort in terms of discipline and field of studies, I think there is where you can actually achieve, or try to build at least a new perception of things. When we speak about research, and this is interesting, and it's something that it's very important for us that we conceive this idea. We're speaking about collaborative products, but that they can, comprehend different formats of work. Let's say that for us, the writing, it's very important, and all the writing products or the idea of express yourself through words, it's very important. Yes, it's a tradition in academia, but there are lots of sensitivities, a lot of contexts in which that is not the most important thing. For example, aesthetics or artistic manifestations, different platforms as audiovisual, interactive experiences, even programming or images or sounds. The idea is that research is not understood only in this more traditional way of the written product. So the objective, the dream, if you want to call it like that, is to create research products that are understood in a wider sense also, and that has this collaborative nature, all the time. And why an observatory? Because there, it could be called institute or hub or center or something like that. First of all, because I think with center we were going to go against the spirit. We don't want to centralize something. We want to give them space and actually allow the others to watch what is happening. To share. Why not an institute? Because I think it's kind of rigid. There is a rigidity on it, and that concept that it's like closed and about a hierarchy that it's clear, I think, and not we were not convinced for that. And hub, it has this as laboratory. I think it has this idea of a concrete uh, instance. And actually, the idea of an observatory, I think, emphasize more the idea of giving an extensive view of things, giving a panorama, a panoramic perception of what's happening. And I think that's the spirit. And well, in that way, those are the letters that distinguish, and this is the concept of the project. The from there, from that concept, we went into the image, the graphic line, and how we can be recognized. So the first thing was to take in consideration the pieces that already exist for GCAS and the colors and the style, the graphic style in general. So we took our main colors from there. This is like a palette. We found this piece that actually was including most of the palette color of GCAS in general. From there, well, we took this palette as the palette of the color of the logo of GCAS. We proposed this. We emphasize these earth tones because I think the decision of Alejandro Engelhardt, who made the design. I think it's very important to emphasize this idea of global and to land the concepts. So we decide to emphasize these two colors. From there, we thought about the isotype. The isotype, the idea of the start of the GCAS was very strong, and I think it's already very recognized for all the community around the world. So from there, we start thinking which would be the best options for include that into this conception and to also give the protagonism at the GCAS isotype itself. So we propose this one. And why this one? Well, because there is basically three ideas that sustain. On one hand, the presence of the star and the form of the star of GCAS remains there. The other thing was the rhizomatic idea, the idea of a rhizome, and the idea of being nomadic and connecting without hierarchy, all the position, all the idea of rhizome is very strong. And also the same idea of sharing this icon that is, right now it's, I think, universal in terms of communication, digital communication at least. The idea of sharing, and actually it's a very strong idea. And actually, if you see the icon, it's literally nodes that are connected. So in base of these three concepts, we propose this isotype for the observatory, and I think it reunites all these intentions. So then we jumped into the logotype, and we came with three proposals. This is the first one, which preserve, let's say, the graphic distribution of the GCAS logo. This one that actually goes in another direction, giving it a little more of autonomy, let's say, but of course preserving the presence of the GCAS logo itself, and this one that actually derivates from the first one. I think we should choose as soon as possible. But well, these were the proposals that we achieved in order to continue with our work. So the observatory pretends to introduce itself and to inaugurate this path of work, of collaborative work, with an event this year. The event will take place in August from 9 to 16. And as everything that has been said, the idea is to create a space of interchange. In that way, we have shows 4 thematic axes, and we are going to work this in 8 different panels. The first axe will be forms of creation. The second axe will be politics. The third axe will be media. And the fourth one will be the pandemic. Each one of these axes will have 2 panels. The first 2 panels of form of creation will be about representation. The second one will be imagination and creativity today. The second axe will have the panel of dangerous world, what's happening with neo-fascism, extremism, and conservatism. The fourth panel, micropolitics and potencies. For example, I was thinking with the team the last days why there's no panel on terms of ecological and problematic of climatic change and all that way explicit. Well, because for us that's part of the potencies in politics. For example, when we speak about regarding micropolitics and potencies, we want to share not only discussions that has to be with institutionality, but also with all the implication of politics in our lives, in our work, our relation with nature, with animals, with the people, also with everything that conforms our lives in the planet itself, with political implications of that. In media, we are proposing 2 panels: commodification of life, and the other panel is surveillance, subjectivity, and control. And for the pandemic, basically, we are proposing to discuss about the political and economical effects of the pandemic itself, and also the sensitivities and social implications. Well, why are we speaking about panels and not seminars or lectures? Because we want to create spaces of dialogue. We don't want only, an exposition. We want that for real, even if people was not necessarily, used to interchange. We want this event to privilege that. In that way, the structure we're thinking for the panels is that each panelist, 2 or 4 for each table, share an idea related with these topics, 7 to 10 minutes at the most. After that, with a moderator, to have this dialogue for an hour at least. And from there, an interchange with all the participants of the sessions, an open conversation. That's the main idea. In general, this is what we are going after. This is what we try to achieve, and I hope all the GCAS nodes could participate in this. I'm going to have a meeting with each node to present this idea, to know their impressions and suggestions and in general perception of it. And well, let's hope this is like the first impulse to achieve, consolidate this as a constant initiative. To participate and collaborate, contributions will be asked until mid-July. We will define the date after. As I was saying before, the contributions, we're speaking about contributions because we don't want to do a call for papers, which will reduce the scope of it to the writing product. This is important. The idea is that any member of GCAS could participate, no matter if you're a faculty member, no matter if you're a research fellow, senior, distinguished, or junior. It doesn't matter if you are a student of one GCAS program or if you are only affiliate to one node, to one geographic global node. Doesn't matter. The idea is that all the community that is part of GCAS could participate and interchange. That's the. And well, we will announce in August the moderators and the panelists that will take part in the event. The organizing team, the core organizing team of all this idea, right now we are the 3 that are participating: the Alejandro Engelhardt, England, Edgar Rodriguez Cuberos, Colombia, and well, myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Alberto Pacheco Benites from Peru. I'm in Peru right now. Actually, I'm in the process of moving to France. Actually, I will be in France by the time of the event. But well, I'm taking the place of coordinator of all this project. And that's all. That's the idea. I hope it's concrete, and I hope actually, as I was saying before, it emphasized the idea of Fluxus.